Hi, welcome to Ms. McKibben's third grade classroom. Today we're going to talk about multiplication and how there are different ways to find the product of the multiplication equation, just like there are different ways that we travel. Transportation is our theme today, and we all travel by bus or by car, some by boat or plane. Astronauts go in a rocket-powered spaceship. But today we're going to look at the different ways to find the answer to multiplication table. We're going to look at repeated addition first through dice. I have a box of dice, sorted dice, red and white. Our instructions tell us to take a red die and a white dice. The white dice tells us the number of red dice to use. The red dice tells us the value of the red die. And it says to write the repeated addition sentence on a dice skill sheet, and then write the multiplication sentence that represents the repeated addition sentence on that skill sheet. Now, here are our skill sheets, and there's a place for the repeated addition and a place for the multiplication, and each skill sheet has a place for the student to do that 2 times their sentences. Now, also, just for practice purposes, the directions tell us to take 1 white dice and 1 red dice and roll them. And the white represents the red dice, the number of red dice to use, and the red dice is the value of the red dice. The students are to put the correct number of red die in a row, displaying the correct value. And then they can check the answer dice folder. Now this is especially good for students that receive special education help. They can go to the dice answer folder, and this gives them all the different combinations. If they roll 2 die, what the answers could possibly be. They roll a 5 and a 6, they have 5 groups of 6. And they can count the dots to find their answer. Now, for students that have mastered that, they can roll their die and not check the answer sheet so quickly. We're also going to look down here, and we're going to talk about all the different ways. In our multiplication, I have a magnetic board here, and I have 4 columns. Now on our 4 columns, we have multiplication, addition, a picture, and an array. Now on our first instructions for this particular activity, it says that the student should find all of the correct solution sets and then put them in the correct column. And then for an assessment, the students are going to they're going to find an assessment sheet. It says to take a travel worksheet and answer sheet, and then cut and paste the answers from the answer sheet into the correct square on the travel worksheet. Now here are our assessment sheets. We have worksheets, and we have blank squares, and we have and we have the answers that they're to cut out and to paste. And I have glue and scissors for them. And I have one that has been completed for those students that, this would be great for a student that's dyslexic, because they can match. They don't have to write anything, they just have to cut and paste. And that seems to work well for a student that has dyslexia. At this next activity, our multiplication transportation. We have 4 different types of transportation, and in here it tells us clearly that a motorcycle can only have 1 passenger. A truck has 2 passengers, a car has 4, and a van has 6. We're going to play around with that and practice those multiplication tables. Our multiplication transportation instructions tell us to take a multiplication skills sheet, place the correct number of magnetic transportation cards on the magnetic board according to what the skill sheet instructs them, count all of the passengers to find the correct answer, and then write the answer on the skill sheet. And then we have a check your answers in the folder. And checking answers in the folder works well for students that need additional help, because they can look at the answers and find and then match the correct ones. If there's skill sheet, and take a skill sheet, and I have motorcycles, cars. They take one of these skill sheets. Let's take a van, and it tells them to put one van on the board. So they'll put one van on the board, and there are 6 smiley faces inside the van, so that's 6 passengers. So one group of 6 equals 6. Let's go to this next one. 2 vans, and there's still going to be 6 passengers in each van. So 2 groups of 6. And if you don't know what 2 times 6 is, you can count the smiley faces and you can find your answer. Now, like I said, students that find that difficult can look at this, the answer charts, and they can make sure that they have all the correct answers, how many passengers are in each vehicle, and that works well for students that are attending special education classes, receiving special help there, or even ESL students, because there's not much reading involved, and also students that are dyslexic, because it's putting things on a magnet board. Now, our next activity over here, we're going to use dice again, and our instructions say how many go-kart riders get to ride the trail. This one is going to use multiples of 2 and graph paper and markers. The instructions say 1 go-kart and 2 riders, so one group of 2. And we have an answer chart here. Our instructions say to roll 1 die, so we'll get 1 die, either color, roll it, there's a 2. Use the matte pencils to color in the correct amount of squares on the graph paper to show how many riders will ride the trail. We have 1 go-kart and 2 riders. This tells us how many go-karts there'll be. There'll be 4 go-karts, so we put 4 groups of 2. And I've instructed students to play this 5 or more times, then look at the answer sheet that's on the wall to check their answers. Okay, so if they are very skilled at this, then they could use 2 dice and graph their answers of 2 die, 4 and 3, 4 rows of 3, 4 groups of 3, and find those answers. And students who only that are not skilled at that can certainly refer to the answer charts and should do well. Okay, thank you for your time today.